the gospel reading today gives us an indication of why St. John the Baptist was not somewhat feared, but he was also respected, because he did what many of us have difficulty doing sometimes, is that he stood up now to the king himself, to Herod, and called out his failings. Number one, marrying his brother's wife. So he called him out. So it wasn't that Herod didn't want to kill him, but feared that he was now a great prophet, or possibly that he was Elijah, because you hear this in the Gospels also. And so what St. John represents for us is certainly the first prophet, and certainly the first one to announce that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He's the first one to make that announcement. But equally so, as now the first martyr of the New Testament, he ushers in now a spiritual transformation for all of us. And the idea being is that orthodoxy, well, Christianity, let's put it that way, Christianity takes quite a bit of courage. It takes an enormous amount of courage in order to be Christian, because as you see, both in historical times and the times today, you see many people being martyred for their faith. And St. John the Baptist is that first example. Now, are we here in America right now going to be called to martyrdom? Maybe. The 12 soldiers that died in Afghanistan, certainly they were called to martyrdom. And the soldiers that died in all of the wars that we have had, for whatever reason we have had them, so they have also then sacrificed. And they sacrificed certainly for something that they believed. Again, what we have with St. John. So for those of us that are not going, or probably are not going to now martyr ourselves with our own lives, then what spiritual transformation are we talking about? What we are talking about is the courage to, and you've heard me say this before, is the courage for us to be Christians. That is, for the courage for us not only to help our fellow man, but to also be that salvation for our fellow man. So my example there is given in the premarital counseling sessions that we do, is that part of what an Orthodox marriage is not just about love, but love of the highest sense, love that we are willing to sacrifice for our spouse. And I'm using this marital example, and we can extend this certainly throughout our lives. So when we have those sessions, I ask and I say, well, what's the purpose of marriage? And they'll come up with, I guess it's the right thing to do, or Yaya wants me to get married, or the church is beautiful, or to have children. All right, okay. But the reason that we get married, and especially in the church, is that we unite ourselves to one another. And part of that uniting is this sacrificial love that St. John the Baptist and many of the other martyrs of the church have shown. So when things get tough in a marriage, we are required as Orthodox Christians to now place ourselves in a martyrdom situation, because many times it can be situations that are very difficult, and that we have to have the courage then to say, hey, let me help you from or into salvation. We're going to see that also with our fathers, our mothers. If we're a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, we're going to see that throughout our lives, whether they're friends possibly. We are called not only to save for salvation's sake for the kingdom of heaven, but we are called to salvation right here on earth, to save those who are in peril right now. And that's this spiritual transformation that St. John the Baptist is the forerunner of, is to transform us into now Christians that have the courage to stand up to what is right and to stand up against then what is wrong. And each one of us is going to have to find out how to do that for our particular situations that we face. Some will face that unto death, like our soldiers, and others will face that in just their family lives or their work or whatever it is, and they will face it there. So let us take now this remembrance of the beheading of St. John the Baptist and use that as the beginnings or the continuation of our spiritual transformation to what we are supposed to be as Orthodox Christians. And remember, today is a fast day.